Welcome back to Word on Democracy, the Groundings edition. And I was told we have a limited time with Acting Secretary Julie Sue, Department of Labor. So I'm going to unfairly wrap three questions into one and then ask you to answer it. Number one, I've been on a search all day for a better indicator for workforce and labor participation than the unemployment rate.
Mm.
So I would like you to talk about what other better indicators we should be looking for as a measure of progress for Black people vis-a-vis labor. Then number two, what are some of the policy initiatives that come under your jurisdiction that might move the needle on those indicators? And then number three, what is the hiring initiative to reimagine equity and the registered apprenticeship program?
Amazing. Thank you so much for having me and for those important questions. One thing I'll just say to kind of set the context for them all is what's implied in all those questions is the transformative power of a good job.
Mm.
And in President Biden's America, we want to make sure that everybody has access to a good job. And there's historic investments being made in our nation's infrastructure to build safe roads and bridges, to ensure that there's clean drinking water that flows out of every faucet, to make sure every home has high-speed, reliable, affordable internet. We're building coast electric vehicle charging stations. All of those are creating good jobs and in communities that need them the most. And our focus is on making sure that they are good jobs, right? Jobs that pay a decent wage, jobs that have benefits, jobs that allow security and retirement, and that every single community has access to those good jobs. And we know that historically, both those things there have been barriers to those.
Mhm.
And President Biden's Investing in America vision is that there will be real equity when it comes to good jobs and who gets those jobs. So the Hire Initiative is part of that. Apprenticeships are part of that. I think about our workforce development system, connecting people to good jobs
Mhm.
and employers to people is a form of infrastructure too, right? It's roads and bridges. But those roads and bridges, just like our physical infrastructure, have had some challenges. It's got some potholes, it's got some cracks in the road. Not all roads lead to success. Not every community has the bridges they need. So we're making sure that this time we build those bridges. So when there is a good job, Black folks are getting those jobs,
Mhm.
and we were seeing that there have been over 90,000 Black folks who are now in apprenticeship programs that were not there when President Biden came into office. We're investing in Pittsburgh is one of the workforce hubs of this administration, meaning I've been there like 5 times,
Okay.
meeting with Mayor Gainey, right, in his historic leadership, but bringing together organizations, unions, employers, but also organizations that serve the Black
Right.
community um, around the table to figure out the pathway to those good
So the
jobs.
higher and the
Yeah.
registered apprenticeship programs, are they policies or are they now programs that people can actually access on the ground?
They're both, but they are programs now.
Mhm.
So they are initiatives in which we are saying that in order to break down barriers to good jobs,
Mhm.
especially for communities who've been excluded for too long, the Black community is one such community. I mean, I said this when I got to this administration, that if we don't do right by Black workers in this administration, we will not have done right.
Okay.
And if we do figure out how to increase equity and access for the Black community, then we can figure it out for other communities. And so their actual programs are on the ground, partnering with HBCUs to, where we do recruitment. And some of it's just doing outreach. People can't get a job if they don't know that job exists. And a lot of times the way jobs exist is through networks and people you know.
Right.
We want to make it about more than that.
Okay.
That's what equity means. To your point about measurement, we've had historic job growth since President Biden came into office. Over 14.8 million jobs created in this country, more than the combined total of prior administrations, and those are also good jobs. We're seeing real wages increase,
Okay.
especially for low and middle income Americans. That's really important too. That's one of the measures.
Right.
And labor force participation rate is one of the things that's really important. And we've seen labor force participation rate come back for all communities when it comes to prime age workforce. So that demonstrates a few things. It demonstrates people feeling, like a desire to be part of this
Mhm.
this good jobs movement that we're having. It demonstrates people are getting good jobs because the unemployment rate has been at historic lows. But you're right, that's not the only measurement that we should use. And one thing that we're measuring at the Department of Labor is real equity. Like when I came in, we found that, some of the workforce dollars that we were using, Black folks were getting jobs, but their
Right.
jobs were systematically at lower pay than that of white participants. That's not
Right.
okay. And so we're not just measuring that, but we're making investments sort of combat it and measuring outcomes that way.
So when Roosevelt did the New Deal back in the day, we touted it. History touts it, but it is also a very exclusionary policy. Certain types of labor were not included in the benefits that the New Deal brought. How do we avoid that happening in this New Deal moment? As the economy is changing, how do we make sure that certain groups of people, i.e., Black people, are not disenfranchised or marginalized from the labor opportunities that are coming?
That's right. So from my perspective, it's two things that have to happen in parallel. One is making sure that the jobs we're creating are good jobs, jobs in which every worker takes home the wages that they earned. Every worker goes home healthy and safe at the end of the day. And we know in too many places that's just not the case, right? I just came back from, I was in Jackson, Mississippi recently, and too many workers have to accept as normal working in a job where they don't get a just day's pay, where they're afraid of being retaliated against if they speak up, if they, if they get injured, they get fired. None of those things are okay. So we have to change that. In President Biden's America, we're saying that is not okay. And then when it comes to the good jobs that are being created, including good union jobs, right? Unions have had a tremendous impact on building the Black middle class. So we create more union jobs. We make sure that Black folks are recruited, trained for them, and retained for them. That's something we absolutely have to do right.
That is Acting Secretary Julie Sue of the Department of Labor.